Well, welcome to a special bonus episode of the PVN College podcast. Depending on when you guys are watching this, you're always looking for something to binge on Netflix. Well, we hope that our crack team of experts today can help you with this as we discuss America's greatest sitcom, The Office. Our guests, plural today, are Porter Johnson and Ricky Petro. Porter is a Christian Studies major at Shorter University. He leads the college ministry of Surge at Sherwood Church here in Rome. And Ricky is our worship leader and part of our media team for PVN College. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's an honor.
This one really is, Porter. This one, you don't even have to just say that. So both of you guys have, now that was your intros, et cetera, but both of you guys have a much deeper qualification for this particular episode. You are both, like myself, Office fans. Porter, we'll start with you. How many times do you think you've watched the Office all the way through? 1 through 9.
Yeah, so I started watching it my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
Haven't really stopped. I'm taking breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
So I say I'm probably on around like 9 or 10 right now.
All the way through 9 or 10?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really impressive. Because that's like, that's almost, it's like 150 episodes, right? Fairly.
It might be 200.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're actually right. 20-something episodes per. All right, Ricky, same question. How many times have you watched through The Office?
Wow. More than I can count. I would say safely paid attention and watched. Yeah, probably like 9 or 10, but it's like an every night just background noise. I'm laying on the couch. I'm trying to zone out. Literally like every night.
That's so true. Because like you watch it, there's watching it through, and I guess it's this way with most TV shows. Like there's watching it through to like, I'm invested, I need to see, or like I've already seen what happens, but I still want to appreciate this. But then there's also just like having it on while you're making dinner, et cetera, et cetera. What's the difference between, Rick, watching it to watch it and watching it just to have it on in the background?
So, maybe it's a time waster or just like you're filling your time, or maybe it's just, there's got to be some comfort in it for me at this point, just because it's always there, check in with the gang and
welcome them into our home. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. I agree completely. Like people always old people are always like, MASH was like, they were like a part of your family. And I get that now. Like Jim and Pam and and Kelly and the gang. Anyway, so as we get into this, so Porter, let's go back to you. What is it about The Office that makes the show so great? What is it about The Office that makes it so great?
Man, I don't know. For me,
there are tears in Porter's eyes for our listeners.
I'd say for me, it's the humor. That's what gets me. It's so dry and sarcastic, and like that's just me, like in a nutshell. So I absolutely love it, and also I think the character development plays a big role.
Yes,
and just how phenomenal this show is.
That's so true. And I think I would agree with you, Porter. Like especially in terms of in an era of the early 2000s, late 90s, like you're coming out of like the laugh track era, and in a lot of ways, like with Big Bang Theory, are still in the laugh track era with like almost what I would call obvious comedy, where like it's blatant, this is the funny moment. And The Office has that, but it's so dry and like deadpan, like Angela, Toby, Dwight's got some deadpan in there, Jim, obviously. I guess everyone but Michael, pretty much, to an extent, Oscar. Anyway, so great point, Porter. Ricky, what is it about The Office that makes the show so great?
I think Porter's right. It's the characters. I mean, it's just because there's so many of them, you can find yourself in them or in the situations that they get themselves into. And I think what makes it so repeatable to watch is just, it's always fun. You'll always find like this little thing, like just laughs per minute is just, there's nothing that can match it. Like you said, like a typical sitcom will give you the laugh track kind of, hey, here's the joke.
Yeah.
Get ready. While Chandler sits and pauses for a second. But like this is different. Like, you're in it, you're experiencing the cringe at the same time. It's got that repeatable, like you can just pick it up from anywhere and it's going to be funny.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think one of the things I'm thinking about while I'm in the moment here, and I don't know how accurate this is, maybe not in the later seasons, but especially in the earlier seasons, every episode is completely different. You know what I mean? Like, to me, there wasn't really a formula of like, I mean, you have like intro, problem, solution, but like this episode is way more focused on Jim and Pam. This episode is Michael's looking for an apartment and they have office Olympics during it. And then this episode is like Toby's leaving. Like, they're all these different, every episode is different, which I think, to your point, Ricky, makes it easier for someone to just jump in.
Right.
And yeah, rewatchability is huge. One of my favorite shows during that time period was also 24 with Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer. And 24 is great the first time through because you don't know what's going to happen. But then when you try to rewatch it, the mystery of it is kind of gone. And with The Office, you can just kind of reload it so frequently. That's good points. Good points all around. Okay, now I do have some questions, but before we'll save these bonus questions for the end of our bonus episode. Okay, as we get into it here, Porter, we'll go one at a time, one episode per each. Porter, 2 favorite episodes and why, but let's just do one right now. We'll go around. So one of your favorite episodes or scenes of The Office.
I gotta say the parkour.
Oh,
parkour,
yes.
That's probably my favorite scene from the whole show.
Yeah.
Simply because when Andy jumps into the elevator, the elevator box, and just disappears.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that part.
Yeah.
And I think Jim's quote also, I can't remember exactly what he says, but parkour is getting from point A to point B as creatively as you can, and point A is, I can't remember what word he used to be.
Delusion.
And delusion, and point B is
The hospital.
the hospital. That's what it was.
I like the attention to detail too. They've all got their shirts. They're all in their work clothes. And Michael's got his shirt untucked, and they do the pit stay so well. Yeah, I think that's the season opener of like 5 or 6, because 4 is the no. Which one is the weigh-in? I think that's 5 because Holly is there, and Holly comes in at the end of 4. So 5 is the weigh-in. So I think parkour might be the intro to 5 or to 6.
Okay.
I think it's the intro to 6, 6 or 7, because 7 is the big musical number. I think that they do because Michael's still there. Yeah, and he's not there for 8. There we go. All right, Rick, one of your favorite episodes from The Office and why?
So I'm going to lay down a huge one here.
Okay.
I've got it written down like, okay, so this was it's 2 parts in Netflix, but it was 1 episode. And I was doing some research. It aired right after the Super Bowl. And so they really, like, the writers brought their A game, and it's Stress Release.
Oh, Stress Relief with Stanley.
Yeah. So so it starts. Dwight starts the fire because he didn't think people paid attention to his fire safety.
Today, smoking's going to save lives.
So then you have that. You have Stanley has a heart attack. You have Save Bandit throwing the cat through the ceiling.
Oh, my God.
And so you go from there. That's the cold open. And then you go right to they have to have CPR training because they had the heart attack.
Yes.
And so it's like, what is the lady's teaching
Staying
Michael?
alive.
And she's like, say staying alive. Yeah. And he starts a completely different, he's like a Bee Gees song. He's like, first I was afraid. It's like, that's wrong song. And so then they start, Andy's dancing. And then Dwight cuts the face off the dummy.
He Hannibal Lecter's it.
Yes.
Yeah, and so then that episode is the same episode where he feels like everyone's walking on eggshells, and they have a roast of Michael Scott.
Oh my
like
gosh, this is all the same episode?
That's what I'm saying. It was like a special. They had all those people
gosh.
from the Super Bowl, and so they brought their A game. So it's like all the funniest things, like some of the most memorable scenes in the entire series, all came from 1 episode.
So true. Yeah. As you're mentioning that, I'm thinking of, so first of all, when the mannequin won't come back to life, and so Dwight takes out his knife before he cuts off the face. He wants to harvest it for organs, and then it's a throwaway line in the middle of, and I don't even think it's supposed to be funny. But during the fire at the beginning, Jim goes, "All right, I'm not dying here," and he and Andy start ramming the copier into the door. And then after Michael is roasted, he goes out and he gets an entire loaf of bread to feed the pigeons, but he throws out whole pieces of bread and goes caw 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 to frame the birds. That scene of Michael in his business suit throwing out whole pieces of bread to the birds I love that. Favorite memories from Stress Relief, Porter?
Oh man, I think Dwight cutting the face off the mannequin is like
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you can top that, honestly. I mean, like I had CPR training for residence life at Shorter this fall, and it took everything in me not to do it. Like I had my pocket knife with me, and I was like, I could.
Oh my gosh. You totally should have.
I love once he ruins the dummy. He's in David Wallace's office, and they're like, "We had to pay for the dummy. It was $3,500." And Michael says $5,300 for a dummy. David's like,
and in that scene he keeps telling the guy to shove over so that Michael can sit and they can all look at Dwight instead. Okay, that's good stuff. Good stuff, guys. All right, here's one that I'm going to drop a bomb on. For me, I think I don't know that this is my favorite episode, but it's way up there. The Injury, season 2, is the opening where where Michael burns his foot in the George Foreman grill. The opening where Dwight crashes his car and then vomits on the hood. And then what does he do, Porter?
He gets back in and drives.
He leaves his bumper behind. And in that phone call at the beginning, Pam's like, "Wait, Michael, why don't you just call your girlfriend?" And Michael says, "I don't have a girlfriend." It was all made up. And that's when Dwight gets a concussion and they have to take him to the hospital. But on the way, Dwight keeps passing out, and so Jim has to spray him with the water bottle the whole way. Michael having to be managed all day until. Do you guys remember how Ryan makes Michael feel better? He crushes up the
ibuprofen or something.
He crushes up the aspirin, 4 extra strength aspirin into Michael's chocolate pudding, which he says is the same thing he does to get his dog to take his heartworm medication. Okay, last scene from that one is when Jim is where Michael is trying to get Pam to rub butter on his foot. Do you remember what Michael says to try to sweeten the deal for Pam over the phone? He says, "Please, Pam, I have country crock." Any other memories from The Injury?
Oh man,
it is
a great one.
Might be tit for tat. It might be the best one in terms of beat for beat.
I've got one.
Like, oh yeah.
So they're at the hospital and Michael's filling out his reason for coming today. So, and instead of saying that Dwight has a concussion, he says, "Bringing my friend to the hospital."
And then he goes, then he marks it out. And but in that moment too, Michael says, "Dwight, what's your middle name?" And Dwight says, "Danger." Yeah. Oh, and when Michael brings in the man who's actually in the wheelchair to talk about everything, and oh man,
he says, "How long does it take you to brush your teeth?"
It's the best line.
30 seconds. He's like, "That's twice as long as it takes me."
And then Jim looks at the camera real quick. Literally, that episode is full to bursting of humor. Okay, Porter, we swing it back around to you, man. Another one of your favorite episodes or moments, and why?
Oh, I think one of them is when the episode where when Dwight owns the building, and Jim gets him to rent the portable workspace, and then they drive it to the pie shop.
Yes,
that's a good one.
That is a really good. That's way later too. Yeah, that is all right. Why is that one of your favorite episodes?
That one just has so much. Like when Dwight gets on the roof of the bus,
because
he's upset, and then when he's coming back down, he like kicks Jim in the head and everything.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome. Kevin does math if it involves pies.
Yeah.
Oh, he just nails it. He Rain Mans it. Yes.
Also, so Kevin true. In that one, when they're eating the pies, he comes up to Oscar and he's like, "Oscar, I insult you." And Oscar's like, "What?" And he was like, I can't remember what he says, but he's trying to get Oscar to pie him in the face. With the pie. And then Oscar finally realizes it and he's like, "Do you want me to like shove this in your face?" And Kevin's like, "Yeah."
And what's funny is that bus is loaded down with like 15 actors, and everybody kind of gets their chance. Such a great ensemble. All right, Ricky, your another favorite episode and why?
Murder.
Oh, the Savannah mystery.
Yeah, what is it? Bullets, Bell, and Bourbon. The Savannah, I love it so much. Like, it's not it's not like an episode that like progresses anything really. I mean, there's a little bit of like the company's going under, and I think what it does is it's hilarious for one.
Yeah.
But it reminds you that Michael's actually a competent manager. Like,
Yes.
even though he's sort of like an agent of chaos, a lot of times he has these good intentions. Like, he understands people.
Yep.
And so, like, Jim wants to take it serious, and he's like, just let us have this. Like, they need this out here. And Jim's fighting it the whole episode, and then he realizes, hey, maybe Michael's right here. And he goes, I have news. And he's like, what is it? He's like, there's been another murder.
Yes, yes. That's what people forget. Michael might be the best salesman in that building. He always comes through, and I like that episode because it really pulls off what The Office does so well, which is that it's 90% humor and then that 10% of seriousness. Yeah. That's what keeps me coming back. Like that moment that Michael and Jim have where they're like, they just give them this. Can you just give them this stupid little game? And it's like, oh man, I get it now. And then obviously the scene at the end where Pam and Dwight and Andy and Michael are all pointing guns at each other. That's like the most famous meme maybe from the whole show, I think. Yeah, great stuff, great stuff. Memories from Murder, Porter?
I'm trying to remember what all happens in that one.
Not
Tube
much.
City.
Do what now?
Tube City. He wants to play the game. I'm pretty sure is that one. And Jim, he's like, Jim, you owe me Tube City, because he wouldn't let him do the hamster tubes all around his office.
Yeah, yes. With oh my gosh, that's a good cutaway. Yeah, that's a good cutaway. All right, for me, and this is an interesting one because it's not on most of the top 10 lists and that sort of thing. And I don't even know. It's one of those where this is one of my most favorite episodes right now in my life in the moment. I always come back to this episode. It's called The Return in season 3, where after Michael has fired Dwight, or Dwight quits because of Andy, Dwight works at Staples, and so Michael goes back to get him in that episode. This episode's iconic. One quote from Dwight. How would I describe myself? 3 words. Hardworking, alpha male, jackhammer, merciless, insatiable to that woman in her pink office. And this is where Andy punches a hole in the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That was an overreaction. It's a great Jim Pam team up. And then a throwaway line in there, as Michael is walking up to Dwight to get him back at Staples, you hear Dwight talk to a woman and say, fine, go with the copy paper. It's your funeral. But great moments from The Return.
Yeah. I love the end of that one where they send Andy away, and he's like, they're sending me to management training. He's anger management. Still management material.
So this is the same episode that Oscar comes back. So they have the return party for Oscar, and Dwight comes in, and they're all in like sombreros and like mariachi music's playing, and Dwight goes, you did all this for me? And the camera pans up behind him and it says, welcome back, Oscar. And Michael goes, guilty. Ryan puts the accent mark on lemonade to make it lemonade for Oscar. Just so many moments that would absolutely sink the show in 2020, possibly. But such a good episode. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of it. All right, Porter, favorite Office moment. Now this is all over the place. Funny or dramatic. Favorite Office moment and why?
Put me on the spot.
Well, let's see. If you need a beat, we can go to Ricky
I think
first.
I need a minute.
All right, Ricky. Favorite Office moment and why?
So I will say one if I'm pressed, but I have 2 because they're very similar.
2 is great.
So there's the Halloween episode, and all the holiday episodes are so good.
Yeah,
the Halloween
true.
episode where Gabe is dressed like Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Is this Robert California or before Robert California?
I think Michael's still here.
Okay,
So Michael's still
okay.
here, and Kevin is dressed as Michael Moore. And Kevin is starting to think that people think Gabe, or Michael thinks that people think Gabe is the boss.
Okay.
And he goes into the annex, and Gabe's back there teaching him how to dance like Lady Gaga. And he thinks Kevin is like going to him as his manager. And he's like, I wouldn't do that, Michael. Do you think I would do that? And he starts crying. He's like, no
starts
way.
weeping.
No way, Jose. And it's just that moment where he's like so like sad that he would hurt Michael like that. It's so funny.
But Kevin is a gem. Dude.
Yeah, he is.
An unsung hero of the show for sure.
And so the one that's super similar is when Michael gets a new girlfriend, and it's Pam's mom.
Yeah.
And Pam is so excited to hear that Michael has a girlfriend. And he goes, I have a new girlfriend. He goes, who is it, Michael? And it's like, it's someone at the office's mom. And he's like, she says, who? Who, Michael? And you can see it click in her head where she starts to realize.
He just keeps looking at her.
And he's like, who, Michael? Who, Michael? like her from being excited to completely devastated.
No! She goes on the parking lot screaming.
Yeah, just that breakdown is so good.
Great choices. Great choices. Porter, thoughts?
Yeah, so I think I thought of one of them. It's a Kevin moment.
Absolutely.
Right, so when he gets the toupee.
For the wedding, right?
Yes, he gets the toupee, and it's just him in the frame, and he's like, is that Ashton Kutcher? No, it's Kevin Malone.
Yes.
Equally as smart, equally as handsome. That's what he says.
He puts his feet in the ice machine because he wore shoeboxes the whole time.
For shoes.
So he put his shoes out for the. Anyway, this is your moment, not mine. Yeah, fantastic. Interesting that Kevin moments are all in here, and neither of us have mentioned this. Isn't my favorite moment, but honorable mention: Kevin's chili. Is iconic.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's being used on TikTok like right now by people. So yeah, it has endured. This one for me is so random and super boring, but I just feel like it just got it. There's a scene I should have looked it up. I can't remember the episode, but where Dwight comes down and tells everyone that his uncle got illegal fireworks if anyone wants to go watch. And Kevin shoots out the door. No one else goes anywhere. This might be where they're reading the screenplay, where they're reading the Michael Scarn screenplay.
So it's the episode where Jim and Pam have their first date.
Yeah,
on the
okay.
roof.
That is my favorite moment from the show, where Jim and Pam eat Jim's famous grilled cheese sandwiches on the roof while watching Dwight and Kevin shoot off fireworks, which are just sparklers that Dwight jumps over and they both scream at. Just such a perfect summation of the show in that it's this heartfelt moment with some really good comedy in the background. And it's where I'm pretty sure it's where they find threat level midnight. Okay. And Pam tells Roy that she's got to stay late. Oh, yeah. And Roy's like, are you serious, Pam? Okay. Now that's the end of we've all done our moments. So let me ask two off the cuff. What's the most quotable line from The Office? What's the most quotable line? I have an idea in my head, but I want to hear what you guys think first.
So the one that comes to mind immediately is Bears beats
Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I think that might be the most quotable line from The Office. There are a lot of really good ones.
Now what I personally quote is it's always the person you most medium suspect all the time because it's my favorite episode.
Another, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
A little stitious. It took it right out of my mouth. That's exactly right. That's
awesome.
Last one, and just be as honest as you want to be. Who would you play in The Office, or who do you most relate to in The Office?
I think I would do a phenomenal job of playing Creed.
Oh yeah,
I'll say it. I think I could do it.
I would watch. That is for dang sure. I would watch. Ricky, thoughts? Or the most fun to play? Whatever it looks like.
I think if I'm doing some real self-reflection
soul searching,
I'm probably very similar to Ryan in a lot of ways.
Quick Ryan moment. Where I think it's actually in The Return where Jim says, Ryan, you want to play a prank on Andy? And Ryan says, not right now, but ask me 10 years ago. And Jim goes, I liked you better as a temp. And Ryan goes, me too. Great. Yeah. I think we all have a lot of, I think in a lot of ways I act a lot like Michael. And then there are other ways where I'm more reserved, like a Jim or a Ryan would be. So I think we all can relate. Well, guys, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
this was awesome. I think you guys know what you need to do now is to binge and find The Office. Let us know your favorite episode of The Office by messaging us on Instagram at PVN College. And please feel free to listen to the PVN College podcast through Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Watch this podcast on Instagram TV at PVN College or our YouTube page, Pleasant Valley North. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.